Hey guys, this is Arthur from IGN checking out the future of Unreal Engine 3. This is a tech demo for the next version of Epic's engine. This is actually running in real time on 3 NVIDIA GTX 580s. This isn't actually a game. This is what Epic is showing developers to show what's possible with the next version of Unreal Engine 3. Alright, so right here, first starting off, we've got a lot of real-time reflections going on. You can see the sign painting in the background, how it's got the Unreal Engine logo in the surface. Here we have the Samaritan. This is the name of the demo, actually. You'll see here that there's a lot of real-time lighting going on, a lot of cast shadows, and I'll be breaking this down as we go through. So first up, we've got something called Subsurface Scattering. The image in front of you is this scene with the standard deferred renderer, which is what this entire demo is running on. You can see that the skin looks sort of plastic. There's a lot of specular highlights, which are where things turn white as the lights hit them. Without subsurface scattering, skin looks kind of fake. Next up, we have an image of the subsurface scattering turned on with the lighting dialed way down. You can see here that the light is sort of spread out around his skin. The specular highlights that I was talking about before are spread out. It's more the way skin looks when it's wet than what we had before. This is simulating the way that light hits skin, penetrates, and bounces back out, which is why skin isn't shiny like plastic. And finally, we have the scene rendered with shadows and subsurface scattering going on. So here we see some of the depth of field stuff going on. I'll explain that more in a second. We've got a lot of real-time lighting going on, like all over the place. You see dynamic shadows being generated by multiple light sources. You see a poor hobo getting his ass kicked. And here is where we have tessellation. What tessellation does is to imply more complexity from a simpler model. Here we have an image of this scene with the polygons on the left. You can see that this is sort of jagged, that there's a lot of straight lines, that there's not as much detail as what we're seeing in this stage. What tessellation does is allow the implication of more detail than is actually in a model. This is one of the big breakthroughs in tessellation. This is a DirectX 11 specific feature. So this generally will allow for more interesting, more complicated character models at the sort of same size characters that developers have been using now, which is better for performance. So moving on, we've got bokeh. What bokeh is the effect of blur outside of an image's focus. With photography and motion pictures, the shape of the blurred area out of focus is determined by the hole in the camera that light goes through. This is called the aperture. In this, you'll notice that lights that are out of focus are taking on specific shapes. When you take a picture with the camera and things are out of focus, that stuff takes the shape of the aperture. We can see this stuff happening in this image here. This is something that's new to Unreal. It adds for a much more filmic effect. You'll see now that these are all these effects taking place. You see a ton of real-time lights, a ton of real-time shadows, light coming from all over the place. Here we've got subsurface scattering and depth of field. You'll see the focus changing like crazy. Poor guy getting his head stepped on. Again, these are way more lights than are possible in this current version of Unreal. This is in part due to a shift to deferred rendering, which is something that's new to Unreal. Games like Dead Space and Killzone use deferred renderers as a way to have way more lights on screen than we typically expect from games. Here you'll see something that's very much actually like the Unreal Engine we're accustomed to. This is sort of the typical Gears of War 3 head gib. As he hits the ground, you'll notice, again, just lots of reflections, lots of surface lighting. Here he's standing, you'll see his reflection, you'll see the reflection of lights on the side of the building. You'll see multiple light sources that are being blurred across our field of view. And this is the sort of final piece of the puzzle for this new version. You'll see the Capitol building in the background, by the way, if you're sharp. Here we have our robot with a new set of lights, and again, this is out of focus, coming into focus. And here you'll see the new shadow engine in Unreal Engine 3. As you look, you can actually see his shadow growing behind him, which is new. This is real-time lighting from light sources that are moving, which is something that is pretty new to Unreal Engine. You can see that there are multiple shadows going on from multiple light sources in the scene. This helps to give a better idea of place. It helps to set the scene better. And this is essentially the end of our demo, but it's just, again, demonstrating everything coming together. Tessellation on the robot to make it look smoother, more detail. And that is Unreal Engine 3 for the future. Again, this is running in real time. This is designed for PCs running DirectX 11. And we look forward to seeing what Epic has to show us and what developers can bring us using this new version of Unreal Engine 3.